What's good, everybody? It's Challenger back with another video. And today, I'm not going to be talking about red pill stuff. I'm going to be talking about something else that I'm good at, and that's video games. I'm going to give people tips on how to become really good at fighting games. The one thing you got to understand about fighting games is that you have complete control of everything around you. See, when you deal with team-based games like first-person shooters and games that require a partner, you're kind of always at their mercy. You could be very good and do your thing, but if they don't hold their end of the, they don't pull their weight, it could be tough for you to consistently win. Fighting game is strictly you. Everything you do is your buttons, your input, your fault. So if you lose in a fighting game, most of the time it's something you did that was bad. Now, out of all genres of games, fighting games is definitely the most hardest mentally, because it takes so much adaptation and conditioning and so many variables, to beat your opponent that it could be mentally overwhelming. And the good thing about fighting games is, since it requires so much mental stress, it's also the shortest concentration that you have to do too. Like, for example, you got to be really focused, but a fight generally lasts about 20-30 seconds, and it's generally 2 or 3 rounds. So give or take, a match will last about anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes potentially. Generally in the 3-minute range if you don't go every single round. With that being said, how can you become good at fighting games? Well, the first thing you should do is learn your character. And to learn your character is pick a character that you feel best fits you. Not a character that you like. What character fits what you like doing the best? Do you like rushing people down and being in their face and attacking them? Do you like looking for big damage? Do you like looking for, are you smart and like doing mix-ups? Pick up a mix-up character. Or do you like to keep your distance and play it safe? And those are generally called the zoner architect. Or you could do a little bit of everything. You don't really care. You like to touch on everything. Those are generally balanced characters or shotos. If you're looking for big damage, those are generally grapplers and slower characters. They do a lot of damage, but they don't have to hit you that many times, but you got to be smart on when you attack. Rushdown characters, they're going to have a lot more turns than you, but they're generally weaker and faster. So those type of matches or characters require matchup knowledge, because you got to understand the holes in their moves so you can attack them. Big characters, slower characters, grapplers, you really don't need extreme matchup knowledge on them. Just understand that if they do touch you, that you're fucked. Shotos are we're called matchup knowledge, but this is the type of architect that requires you to know your characters. I feel like if you are a big guy, a character that's using a grappler or a shoto, you should try to understand the matchup situation. But generally, rushdown characters don't have to learn the matchup as much, and you'll generally see at higher levels of gameplay, or when you get to higher ranks, not levels, but higher ranking in gameplays, that people who cheese their way or flowchart their way with faster characters generally don't have the defense, because they come up with a flowchart that's so efficient that it makes it very hard for the casual player to stop on a consistent basis. And they could just basically flowchart their way up the leaderboards. So find a style that you like and stick to it. And I know certain styles require matchup knowledge, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to play at a high level, at the most efficient peak level, it's good to know matchups all across the board. Like, take your character and try to briefly go over every character in the game and see what they can and can't do. Watch arcade mode, play the story, and just look at videos and watch what these characters could do. Go to practice mode, and if your practice mode is very in-depth, you can learn some good stuff. Like Street Fighter and Tekken has a real in-depth fighting mode. It tells you the frame data, tells you the speed of the attack, counter options, combos. Like practice mode is your best friend. You can learn, once you learn your characters, you can learn all their combos. And then after you learn all their combos and different what their strengths and weaknesses, you could learn the matchups. And you could take the matchups, you could go to practice mode and fight the computer on hard. if you're just trying to get a general feel of how these characters work. And generally, it's best to put it on the hardest difficulty. Now, fighting the computer on the hardest difficulty ain't gonna make you do better. It gives you a general idea of what attacks they could throw out. But you won't really get that experience unless you actually play real humans, because of the way fighting games are programmed. Humans gonna choose the most effective, attack method to beat you, and they call that a meta. So, to get better at games, outside of learning your character and learning the matchup, is to learn the programming of the game. A lot of times they call this frame data. Frame data is basically information that let you know what moves are good and what moves are bad, and what are the properties of each attack. You can always get to know your character better, but when you learn frame data, it takes your character knowledge to the next level, because now you know what text to abuse, what text not to abuse, what's good, what to do in certain situations. It helps improve your overall decision making, and that's called frame data. And all that comes down with the programming of the game. Like, they put these little implementations in the game to create balance, in order, because some characters could do certain stuff better than other characters. Some characters are stronger, some characters are faster, some characters got mix-ups. Generally, faster characters are generally weaker. Slower characters are generally stronger. Characters with less mix-up options generally do more damage, because they reward you for, sacrifices. 50-50 characters generally requires a good mental game, and generally, if you guess right on a 50-50, you could generally punish them because you guess right, because there's a high probability that you could guess wrong. So there's a lot of variables to make games more balanced across the board, and they have generally updates to keep it balanced. Very few times now you're gonna find a character that's completely broken. Now, there is characters that we consider top tier and low tier, and tiers are generally based on the meta for the game, and the metas differ depending on where you play the game at. In different countries, people have different play styles because of their thought process, and certain characters will become more favorable. It doesn't mean they're overall better. It's just so that's where tier lists come. There's technically no character better than the other characters, but there are some characters that have certain type of advantages that are easier to exploit, that require less intelligence, aka a flowchart. So another way to get improved in games is to understand, after learning everything you can, learn all the frame data, watch, pros and other players who are really good. You can find videos like them on YouTube and at tournaments. Watching other players who utilize your character, you can learn a lot of information. So that's why it's always good to watch the pros who use your character, or it's good to do mirror matches. Mirror matches when you use the same character. And when you do mirror matches, you can learn a little bit about, something you could do, what you can't do. You could tweak a few things to make it more optimal. So, do all them things, and that would make you better fighting games. Okay, so remember, you can learn from the pros, watch other people who use your character, practice against all characters. Just casually playing over time makes you better, because the more playtime you get, generally the more experience and better muscle memory you can build up. Labbing and understanding frame data, or the programming of the game, as we like to call it. And make sure you pick a character that fits your style, because if you pick a character that doesn't fit your style, it can be tough. Like, if you're trying to rush down with a zoner, it may catch a few people off guard, but it's generally a little bit harder, and they have generally less options to confiscate for their move, because they're a zoner for a reason. And their move's going to support it. So, anyways, guys, those are my tips. Not much, but at least they help you get the game rolling or the ball rolling. Thank you.